We're headed into a recession here in 2023. It's wise to kind of like prepare for the worst, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Like, I would really advise people to not have margin debt in a volatile stock market.
Elon, shifting gears to the economy, we saw this surprise report of negative 1.4% GDP growth in Q1. Interest rates have been rising. That increased the cost to the consumer of getting loans, things like that. We've had a stock market correction, really a crash in a lot of growth stocks, software stocks. From where you sit and the data that you see, where do you think the economy is headed right now? Do you think we're in a recession, or is it just a risk? How do you assess our current economic situation?
Well, predicting macroeconomics is always difficult, and one should assign probabilities to these things. I think we probably are in a recession, and that recession will get worse. But these things pass, and then there will be boom times again. So it'll probably be some tough going for, I don't know, a year, maybe 12 to 18 months is usually the amount of time that it takes for a correction to happen. Recessions are not necessarily a bad thing. I've now been through a few of them, and what tends to happen is if you have a boom that goes on for too long, you get misallocation of capital. It starts raining money on fools, basically. It's like any dumb thing gets money, and I'm sure you've seen a few of those. So at some point it gets just out of control, and you just have a misallocation of human capital, where people are doing things that are silly and not useful to their fellow human beings. And then those companies, there needs to be sort of an economic enema, if you will. The bullshit companies go bankrupt, and the ones that are doing useful products are prosperous. But there's certainly a lesson here that if one is making useful product and has a company that makes sense, make sure you're not running things too close to the edge from a capital standpoint, that you've got some capital reserves to last through irrational times. Because in the past, when there's been a recession, it has gone. It's amazing. It's flipped like a light switch. I mean, David, do you remember this from the PayPal, ex-PayPal days, when we raised $100 million in March of 2000, and we had the demand was so high, we had people like VCs like just literally without even a term sheet wiring money into our account.
We'll send the term sheet later.
they literally would like sleuth out our bank account number and wire money in, and we're like, where'd this come from? And it's like, so it was like they were literally fire hosing money in March of 2000, and then in April 2000 the market went into free fall, and it went from raising money was trivial to even good companies could not raise money in a month. So it's just important to bear in mind, like that, PayPal almost went bankrupt in 2000. We came close, but thankfully we'd raised that $100 million in March 2000, without which we would be in game over, basically. And we kind of saw it coming. So it's like we got the ex-Confinity merger done in like 3 weeks and raised $100 million because we were like, we see this coming to an end pretty soon. And then a month later, it was like, a nightmare, basically. Anyway, so it's just important to make sure if you're a healthy company, you got some capital to get through things. And then what's your costs? And if it is a recession, which more likely than not it is a recession. I'm not saying it is, but it probably is. Then just watch your cash flow and get positive cash flow as soon as you can. Well, I think it's more like it does seem like we're headed into a recession here in 2023. The magnitude of that recession is debatable, but I think it's at least a light to moderate recession. Potentially, it's on the order of 2009. So I think it's wise to kind of like prepare for the worst, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Don't get too adventurous. Like watch out for margin debt. Like I would really advise people to not have margin debt in a volatile stock market. And, from a cash standpoint, keep powder dry. You can get some pretty extreme things happening in a down market. Like Brett Johnson, who was a CFO, who is a CFO of SpaceX, was at Broadcom in 2000, and he said that, and that's a good company making good products. And he said from peak to trough, I think in less than 12 months, Broadcom went down 97%. So, like, even if you had a small margin loan there, you got crushed. It subsequently recovered, and I think to much higher levels. But if there's like mass panic in the stock market, then you got to really be careful about margin debt. So, but I mean, this is just as we know, the economy is cyclic. So, and we're somewhat overdue for a recession. And my best guess is that, we have sort of stormy times for a year to a year and a half, and then things start to, dawn breaks roughly in Q2 24, if I were to guess. That's like my best guess. Recessions don't, like booms don't last forever, but neither do recessions.